Hello, my name is Ewan. I'm a social worker, addiction counselor, and a person in long-term recovery. Today, I'm very fortunate, or we are very fortunate, to have a special guest. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Ewan. My name is Michael Walsh. I am a recovery coach, interventionist, and family consultant based in Victoria, BC. And I also am very excited to have this conversation with Ewan today.
Excellent. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about support groups, specifically alternatives to the 12-step support groups. Just to review, some of the important parts or benefits of being part of a support group in recovery is that you have access to a wide number of people with experience in recovery, people that you can bring into your recovery team, and you can draw on their experience to help you through hard times and help lead the way. And that mentorship and leadership is another key part of that recovery experience. And you can find those mentors and leaders for yourself in recovery programs. Another benefit is accessibility. They're online, they're in person, and they're at low or no cost. This means that they're easy to access for people regardless of their situation. Other things to remember is the benefits to the brain. Neurobiologically, attending groups and having that social connection, especially for people that we relate with, increases oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals that are beneficial and can help us recover and heal. Today we're going to be looking at some of the alternatives to 12-step support groups, some of the other mutual support that is out there. Why is it so important to have some of these alternative support groups or other support groups?
It's a great question, Ewan. And in my personal and professional experience, what I have found is that people need to align themselves with something in a support group that fits with their background, their beliefs, how they want to interact with people. And I think it's just important to get buy-in from people if they have a choice in where they're doing their recovery. And another thing to remember is that the support group is really, it's an important piece of recovery, but it's a smaller piece in the sense of like an entire recovery program. So it is important, and I think in the early days of one's recovery to be connected to a support group and learning from other peers and knowing that you're not alone is really helpful. So we're going to talk about a variety of support groups today, and I'm wondering if you might just be able to explain your knowledge and experience with faith-based type alternatives to the 12 steps.
Sure. So one that I'm familiar with and have a number of clients and friends who attend and get some benefit out of is known as Celebrate Recovery. And this is often a group that's located in churches and is Christian in origin. And so they take a 12-step approach, but they run it through the lens of Christianity. And so it's great for people in the faith of Christianity to be able to really kind of blend both their faith and recovery together. And for people who have grown up Christian and want to return to that or have stayed Christian through addiction, it's a great place to meet people who have a similar faith and where they can talk openly about their specific form of religion or spirituality in the context of recovery.
Right.
I'm wondering just if you can tell us a little bit about some of the Buddhist options that are out there.
Certainly. So Refuge Recovery is a group out of California that came on the scene about 10 years ago, and it really exploded as a recovery option for people that don't want to do 12-step recovery or any other type of recovery. They have a Buddhist background, they like meditation, they like the concept of Buddhism, and that particular group has a 20-minute meditation at the beginning, and then they do a reading from the Refuge Recovery book, and then they have a discussion around that reading. And, for me, it seems like a pretty seamless approach to recovery. The other one that is available, which came after Refuge Recovery, is Dharma Recovery. And it's basically a very similar concept as Refuge Recovery. There's a 20-minute meditation, a reading from the book, and then you do a discussion. And for me, I really like that concept. It's kind of low barrier in terms of interacting and talking about your recovery, your history, your experience. And yeah, it's just a nice way to connect with other people.
Nice. And what I like about the Buddhist approach is, well, it's kind of inspired by Buddhism and takes a lot of their teachings. It's so open to anyone who wants to check that out. So people who are finding that connection to mindfulness skills, it's a great place to build on that. And so much synergy, I guess is how I'd put it, between recovery principles and Buddhist principles. It seems to just flow so nicely.
Right.
So let's look at some of the secular options now. I know that one popular program is Smart Recovery, and you know something about that. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, Michael?
Certainly. Thanks, Ewan. So SMART is an organization out of the United States. It has several thousand meetings around the world. SMART is an acronym for Self-Management Addiction Recovery Training, and they have a 4-point process. The first point is building and maintaining motivation. The second point is coping with urges and cravings. The third point is managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And the fourth one is lifestyle balance. What I like about Smart Recovery is that it is evidence-based. There's been a lot of research done on this group around the world, mostly in the UK. It's a CBT or cognitive behavioral type therapy. It's very tool-based, a very practical and functional approach. Each of the facilitators have been trained for at least 30 hours. So, they put some significant time into being able to run these groups. And it's not counseling, to be clear. Like, it is absolutely nothing to do with any type of therapeutic approach. Although most of the facilitators are people in recovery, there are some therapists from treatment centers and different clinics that do take the SMART training and run the groups, but again, it's not a therapeutic approach. So I love Smart Recovery. It's accessible online, and of course, there's meetings in person as well.
Mm-hmm. And what a great place to build those practical skills early in recovery and just take them out. And what I like about SMART is that it works well with other support groups or as a standalone. You can get what you need there, and just that practical hands-on knowledge, the book work, and that the facilitators have that training, that formal training, just adds that nice level to it. So what a great option.
Absolutely.
I know that there's another one out there that like SMART is in that secular realm, and that's LifeRing. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what LifeRing has to offer for people.
Certainly. So LifeRing is what's called a self-directed approach, and it is also out of the United States and has quite a few thousand meetings around the world. LifeRing's focus on sobriety, secularity, and self-help. So they really encourage people to build a recovery program that is very individual. And like you just mentioned, LifeRing could be in tandem with attending SMART groups or any type of 12-step group or refuge recovery. It's very open-minded in terms of how people are approaching this part of their life. So LifeRing is a very important group in the recovery community as well.
Mm-hmm. And that individual piece that they have, I think, is just so important. I know that that's the great thing about recovery. Many paths lead to the same goal, but just to be able to embrace that and celebrate that and take the different pieces that people are using and to have a place where you can go and talk openly about this works for me, this doesn't work for me, and then people can get some ideas and go out there and try it. I think that's such a valuable area of recovery that they really focus on and can help people with. Yeah, so another option in the secular realm that I wanted to talk a little bit about and get some information for people is the SOS. So I know that you've checked that out. Maybe you could give a little bit of information on that group.
Certainly. Like LifeRing and Smart Recovery, SOS stands for Secular Organizations for Sobriety. It's a self-empowerment approach to recovery, and really people can choose the way that they're approaching their recovery. It's another support group where peers are getting together and just sharing what's going on for them and learning different strategies to cope with whatever is going on in their lives. So again, this is just another alternative for people to check out. And within my practice and the people that I work with, I just share with them a list of possible support groups and say, do your research and just go and check these things out, find what works for you, and if it doesn't fit, then that's okay.
Yeah, and I know for me, like that was a transferable skill, that open-mindedness. I would try anything to get high in addiction, and so might as well try anything to recover. And the nice thing is that these are some really amazing options. And I think, if people have that willingness, they will find a home in these groups, somewhere that they can really, really benefit.
Right. Yeah. You made a very important point around feeling comfortable talking with other people about how they are feeling about the tools and strategies that they're using. And I think it's important to convey that it's okay if something is not working for you, and it's okay to voice that. There's some open dialogue in a lot of these groups, and people should be able to convey openly and honestly what's on their mind without feeling judged or shamed or feeling guilty about that.
I think the one area where I see a problem is people come to me and they say, make some suggestions, and they're like, oh, that group won't work for me, this group won't work for me. And I'm like, hey, do you have any experience with that group? And they're like, no, I've never been there before. And I'm like, well, maybe just, go and see, and then we could talk about it. I think gathering the evidence, and I like what you said, like, they go out and do their own research. People can find what works for them, but you gotta be able to try with that open mind. Because I certainly, my path to recovery, if you had told me about it at the beginning, I would have laughed at you. I would have said none of those components are going to be a part of what's gonna put me into recovery.
Right.
And look at us now.
Yeah. So what changed for you in that?
I think desperation was a part, but watching it work for other people, and that's why I like the mutual support group, coming in and hearing bits of my story.
Yeah.
I came in and everyone looked pretty healthy, and I was like, I don't belong here. But then hearing about where they had been before that and how they got there, and hearing people talk honestly. Like, I really like what you said, like people who can say, this worked for me, this didn't, I tried this, I tried that, like that was useful.
Yeah.
And just that there isn't, that there isn't one path, and that's okay. We can still all pull in the same direction.
Absolutely.
I know it's going to sound a little weird coming from two men, but I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the options just for women. One of them is She Recovers, which is a large online community with events, conferences, resources, groups, and coaches that are available through their program. It was started in Victoria, and it's a strengths-based community where women get together and support each other. And what I like is that they really believe that early intervention is key, that you don't have to hit bottom, you don't have to lose everything. And so they want women who are, early in identifying that they have a problem, who can come here and get support kind of at any level. And I really like that. And the other piece that's really neat about that program is that it's recovery from anything. It's not just addiction. So women who are seeking recovery and health and nurturing, and they have some great online groups for women that people can access kind of every day of the week. So,
Right.
So that's a really great option.
Right. And that was a mother and daughter that started that here in Victoria, right? And now they have quite a following around the world, several hundreds of thousands of people that follow them on Facebook and other social media sites.
Yeah, what an amazing thing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then we have Women for Sobriety, which was, I believe, started in the 70s. And so it's been around for a long time, helped lots and lots of women. And it's, a grassroots, peer-based organization. And they just want to help women who are looking to live free from drugs and alcohol, and with that pure sense of purpose. There's online support groups, in-person meetings, and a neat thing that they have is individual peer support. So if you need that one-on-one support, they have access to that as well. And I think it's really important for anyone to feel safe in recovery, and sometimes that requires, people to be with people that they can really identify with. Everyone has sort of different challenges in recovery, and so organizations and groups specifically for women is a really important part, and it's out there and it's available.
Right.
Excellent. Well, I'd like you at home now to take a few moments and think about some of these groups, whether or not they would be a fit for you. And really the only way you can tell is if you check them out. So I really encourage you to do so. There will be links available to the websites, and that's a great place to start to find a meeting online or near you. So thank you, Michael, for joining me in this conversation today. Until next time, take care and stay safe.